Mac Studio with its M1 Ultra and its ultra extreme performance. This is amazing! What even is this? So, like many other Apple fans who are a fan of the Mac, we all know about this Mac Studio thing, except I have noticed some very strange decisions that have went into the making of this desktop. So I figured it might not be that bad of an idea to actually talk about some of these weird oddities, because for desktop fans, it's really making them upset. And for someone like me, it's just, I'm kind of questioning some sanity here. Okay, we need a sanity check every now and then, and so that's what I'm doing right now. Just a quick sanity check. So let's get into this. Okay, so the biggest thing that people are ranting on the Mac Studio about is its modularity. In fact, Apple has quite a funny definition of modularity. They mentioned even before they showed off this product in their keynote that there were 3 things that the Mac Studio was able to accomplish. The first one was, well, just sheer processing power. I'm pretty sure Apple Silicon just automatically checked that box off the list. Next up was connectivity, and yeah, we got a very awesome amount, including 4 to 6 Thunderbolt 4 ports, which is absolutely nuts when you think about that. 2 USB-A's, an HDMI 2.0, 10 gigabit Ethernet. I'm not gonna lie, that's actually a good one. SD card slot.
Whatever.
And then, well, obviously the power connector. Oh, and the headphone jack that supports high impedance headphones. Connectivity has definitely been checked off the box. The last thing that Apple had mentioned that this thing was supposed to check off was modularity. Except when you take a look at the actual package itself, you might realize that it is not really that modular of a design. The point they were trying to get after was you can separate the computer from the peripherals like display and such. It's pretty much BYODKM. Okay, so clearly this has definitely made quite a few people upset because, yeah, this thing is not modular and they can't really upgrade it. But here actually comes one of the weirdest things that, I mean, kind of makes it seem modular, but just through the way that they set it up, you just really have to question their sanity here. So I'm talking about the storage. MaxTech, to my knowledge, is the first YouTube channel to actually open up the Mac Studio itself and actually find out there's, what was it, mini PCIe ports in there? There was basically an extra storage port, and yeah, the storage was removable. So this got the whole upgradable community excited because,
whoa, this means we can upgrade the storage in our Mac Studios, right?
Oh, guys, this is Apple we're talking about. Do you really think they make it that simple to do that anymore? Well, I guess if you have the Mac Pro, then, well, okay, sure. But let's be real here. Of course no! Apple is not gonna make this easy at all. So how did they manage to screw up this modular expandable port? Well, first of all, the card that is plugged into one of the two, yes, that is technically the storage, but literally, that is the storage. It's not actually an SSD. All it is the actual NAND flash that holds data. No controllers, no PCB, stuff like that. No, nothing. It's all literally just the material that actually holds our data. That's it. So if you try to remove this card and put it in another machine, well, another machine is not going to be able to find it because, well, that card has no controllers on it. And if you try to swap that for a different one, well, those controllers that are actually integrated into either M1 Max or M1 Ultra, they don't even recognize what that storage even is. But not even just that, Apple has been notorious for also encrypting this stuff, including to a firmware level. Storage upgrades are already not that easy in the first place. Even if you manage to replace, like, let's say you replace that NAND flash module that plugs into the PCIe slot with, well, another one. And by the way, if you're going to do it, you literally need the exact same one. Otherwise, the controllers will not know what to do with it. Once again, on a firmware level, Apple has somehow managed to even make sure that the firmware storage controllers don't recognize any other storage card. This is what? Why does Apple even have this method in the first place? I better get that out of the way. The reason why it is this way is primarily for supply chain things. Whenever you have a vast array of different options, but they're all integrated and not exactly easily swappable, production gets, well, a lot more complicated. So to combat this, they decided to take the most variable component and make that actually modular, so that way, well, it lowers production costs and such, especially since inflation is on the rise. It might explain why this Mac Studio is actually at a decent price. Now, what exactly is my opinion on this? Is this acceptable? No, and here is why. It's not for the upgradability standpoint. I understand why they actually want to prevent you from upgrading this stuff, and that's because that's money that they're missing out on. This is a business basic. Storage is one of those things that they can upsell you on, so of course they really don't want you upgrading it yourself, because that is potential money lost. But that's not really my biggest problem. My biggest problem is actually the repairability aspect. I am all favor in modularity if it means one thing: repairability. I like modularity because it's, well, a simple just take this piece out and we'll replace it with the same thing. Boom, it's fixed. Remove faulty component, trade it for good component, instead of, oh, the computer's now junk all of a sudden, which unfortunately that is the way Apple currently has it set up. It's really annoying. So that's the whole Mac Studio debacle going on right now. It is not modular at all, even though, yeah, there's these mini PCIe ports. Don't even bother trying to populate them. They will not be read, whatever you try to plug in there. I guess Apple only checked off 2 of those boxes that they were really hoping to check off with the Mac Studio. It's got the power, it's got the connectivity, but it ain't modular. I have no idea why they call this thing modular, because in reality, it's not. What they're really just trying to sell is just a BYODKM solution. Alright, so that's the Mac Studio. I actually want to talk about another very odd thing going on with the Mac Studio, and it's actually something that was sold alongside the Mac Studio. The Studio display. Okay, what's wrong with this display? And I've already mentioned this on the podcast. I've also mentioned this in the event recap. Honestly, the Studio display is really hard to justify. Like, you really have to want that symmetrical bezel design, that aluminum Apple build quality, the proper USB hub on the back of it, the center stage webcam, the speakers, the microphones. You really have to want all of that to justify the base $1,600 for it. If you want a matte finish, well, that's an extra $300. Oh, and do you want to adjust the height of this thing without getting the base amount? Yep, that's another $400. That's not actually my biggest problem. I mean, the price is already pretty high considering what it is. It's like a, oh geez, how old is that panel? That's a 9-year-old panel now that you think about it. But here's actually something very odd, and I'm really trying to figure out why it is set up this way. The power cable, technically it is removable, but they pretty much advertise it as non-removable. It is so difficult to remove. They actually went through the trouble to engineer a power cord that's easy to plug in and extremely difficult to unplug. It can be unplugged, but it ain't easy. It requires a lot of force and this really nerve-wracking feeling that you're going to break something. So why would this actually be an issue? Now, for the most part, nobody really unplugs the cable of their displays anyway. I mean, I've never actually unplugged the cable for this monitor here. Yeah, I don't unplug the cable for this thing, so why is that a big deal? Once again, it all stems back to this repairability thing. Despite that, yeah, this is a braided cable, Apple's high quality braided stuff. I'm not exactly too sure that this thing will still last forever. There are still ways to bust cables. Like, you could possibly have a toddler or a young kid who's not exactly being smart and takes a pair of scissors to the cable. Okay, I know that's a far-fetched situation, but there are far-fetched situations that involved my younger sister a few years ago playing Bang with one of my computers computer's CD drive. She put a penny in the CD drive and busted it. Yeah, there's stupid little niche situations just like that. If somehow the cable does get damaged, again, not likely, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. There's stupid scenarios like that. You pretty much have to send the entire display back just to get a new cable, basically. This is just weird. I really don't understand why Apple does go through the trouble of engineering ways to make their stuff non-openable, and for the most part, most of the time you don't even have to take these things apart. As long as they work, then why do you have to get inside of them? But that doesn't change the fact that things are still able to go wrong, and having an easy way to fix it when something does go wrong would be really nice. And unfortunately, Apple has not been doing a good job with that for the past how many years now? I mean, it's so funny for me to see how upgradable my previous MacBook was. It was a 2011 13-inch. You can upgrade the hard drive, the RAM. Point is, you can actually get into that thing and actually mess around with components. You can do the same for this thing. This thing is actually fairly upgradable because the glass panel here is held in by magnets. There's simple torque screws holding on the aluminum bezel. There's no adhesives at all. I was able to upgrade the RAM and the wireless module in here to support AirDrop. I could even upgrade the hard drive if I wanted to. Last I checked, I actually think the CPU is removable in this thing. The GPU isn't, but I hear the CPU is. So kind of funny how Apple went from these simple to put together and easy to repair solutions to these now basically impossible to repair stuff. I don't know why this benefits them. It does prevent people from messing with the stuff on the inside, but then again, why would the average consumer even want to get inside in the first place? All this does is pretty much drive repair costs through the roof. Yeah, stuff like that. So the Mac Studio, it's definitely an odd one. Now, are these issues major? Well, honestly, if you take a look at it from the grand scheme of things, the truth is, not really. First of all, most people generally don't open up their computers. The only people who really open their computers up are primarily just the enthusiasts. But for those who just use their computers for actually getting their stuff done, they don't really have much of an interest of opening it up. And so because of the few people, remember, the average people who probably are not likely at all to open these things up outnumber by a substantial amount the enthusiasts, it's not that likely that this was going to be a major problem. For those of you who are hardware enthusiasts, yeah, this might suck, but Apple gave us what they gave us. Take it or leave it. Alright, thank you for watching. Do me a favor and interact with the stuff below. My name is DeWolf, Random Alpha, signing out.